Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It is July 29th, 2022. This is a morning after the webinar that Gil Morales and I did yesterday, and I just want to make a short video to show you how you can use HGSI with Gil's files. This will not be an in-depth video. That'll have to come another time, but I just wanted to do a follow-up and answer a few questions. So I've done the overnight update, and Thinkorswim is running in the background to update my intraday quotes every 5 minutes, and now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the market. The market is strong again today, but I don't know how much breadth there is, so I'm going to begin there. And you can see that I have a few user smart groups here. Now these should be updated, but I'm going to update them again by going to my Tools menu and select Rebuild User Smart Groups. Now it's pulling the data from Thinkorswim into the program and rebuilding these groups. And it really just doesn't take very long. This computer that I'm using is 7 years old, so you can see how quickly that went. Now I'm going into Morales and Brown Market Breadth. I'm going to click on that. You can see that this filter is on because it is indented. If I hold my shift key and release that, and then just move down to the correct folder, you can see that I have all of the major indexes in here. And the reason I did this is to quickly check the breadth. Now this folder here contains the stocks and all of the major market indexes, the NASDAQ, the S&P 1500, semiconductors, and so on. So I can see that there are 2,637, and I can see that 1489 are up and 1073 are down. So it's slightly positive today. The Dow 20 up, 10 down, transports 10 up, 7 down, utilities 11 and 1, so money flowing into utilities again. Now the NASDAQ 59 up and 38 down, and the NASDAQ is currently up 153 points. It gapped open and it's not looking back. Amazon is a large part of that, but let's see for sure. So I'm going to go to my price up here. I'm going to click through to the warehouse view, and the view that I want is right here. Number 1, scorecard stocks and IPOs intraday. I sort on the raw combo, and the raw combo, what it does is drives these stocks to the top of the list, which are up a good percentage from the day, trading in the upper part of their intraday range, and have good volume. You can see that Amazon comes to the top immediately. I'm going to double click on Amazon, bring up the chart. This is the undercut and rally charts that I put together for Gil. You can see the groups moving up, and here's the crossover. There were no accumulation days, but on the crossover day, which happened 3 days ago, counting today. Here's today, gapped up on earnings. Here's the prior day, and here's the crossover. There were 2 accumulation days, plus this day right here. High volume up bar, closing on the high indicates strength, and earnings delivered, and it moved up. You can see back here on this chart, there were 2 accumulation days, the light blue bar, then a crossover day, and there was a nice run. Then it pulled back, expansion, contraction. It expanded to the downside a little bit, and then there were these 2 accumulation days. So let's see what else is in here. Now KLA 10 core, you can see looking at these columns that the 3 crossed the 6 15 days ago. 0 is always the crossover day, and the volume point of control, which is down here based upon 10 days, crossed 16 days ago. So I'm going to bring this chart up, and I'll put a crosshair on it with the alternate C, and here is the VPOC crossover, and you can see on KLA Kencor that there was an accumulation day here. See this circle? That's stopping volume, heavy volume, and it closed at its high. A great VPA signal, especially when it's confirmed. And this is no supply the following day. And then it had another accumulation day before the crossover. And it really hasn't looked back since that crossover. And you can see it didn't cross down by looking at this histogram. Okay, now these are trades, all trades that happened in the past. Let's look at Datadog, because it crossed over yesterday. The 3 crossed over, and the VPOC crossed over the day before. Let's see if there's any follow-through on here. So here's an accumulation day, but the 3 and the 6 are still going down, and as they started to turn up here and steady themselves, here's an accumulation day with strength seen returning after a downtrend, and then a follow-through day, and it's moving up again. Now, notice the fan. These stocks are still in a downtrend, or this stock is, but it is starting to move up. Now I'm going to take this same group of stocks that are up today, and I'm just going to click on this, which is the spectrum analyzer, and it tells me the breakdown of the industry groups: application software, semiconductor devices, internet-based services, and so on down the list. Since I'm looking only at stocks that are up, let's go to a different view here. Let's go to my undercut and rally views and see if anything appears when I look at stocks having a fan up with the 3 below the 6, and there's one stock, Dollar Tree. Let's take a look at it. You can see it's in the accumulation phase here with these 3 white candles. Here's an effort to rise, and higher high on this one, and if this one can break past, it's going to be a higher high, but it hasn't crossed over yet. On this crossover here, you can see there was a run, nice run, and then a pullback. These didn't do much, but these are good accumulation bars in here. VPA flags crossover, little 2-day pullback. You shouldn't be concerned about a stock that pulls back for a couple of days unless it's a massive pullback. And then the crossovers here, more accumulation, and it took off. I'm going to head back to the designer. I just want to take a look here out of the S&P 1500. Let's see, there are 939 up, 533 down. So we're running at around a 2-to-1 margin today, and the market still remains very strong as I do this. Now I'm going to flip to all securities, hold my alternate spacebar down, and that takes me to all securities. Make sure that I reapply the filter by clicking on this small icon here. And I'm using the small icons. You have the choice in HGSI of using, if you go under preferences, I use the small toolbar to give me more room on the screen. You can see the difference here. Some people like the larger. I use the smaller just to give me more screen area. So let's take a look at this one. This is the these are stocks that have undercut. This is the end of day. Let me sort on raw column, and then I'm going to look at these same stocks on the intraday version of the scan. Notice it says intraday right here under 1A, and these are all undercuts, and these stocks may be going today. I don't see a lot here. There's Dollar General. We looked at it. Let's take a look at Patronics. It is, I'm not sure if this is a buyout or not. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I thought it was. Okay, so those will be cleaned out of the database once the deal is complete. When you see a 0 like this at 100%, it often means that. So I don't see much here. Let's go down to the next one. Remember, the fans have to be up on these stocks. As I bring a chart up, I will explain that. So let's take a look at the first one, Rollins Inc. And I'll zoom out on that a little bit. The fan has to be stacked with the 200 below the 100, with the 50 above the 100, and then the 18 above that. I'll zoom in on this so you can see this better. And let me explain this chart to you. This up here is the industry group, and the group is starting to go up. The group ranks 77. It tells us what industry this is in the sector, and the number of stocks in the industry. Very few stocks in this industry. Now going down here, the light blue bars represent accumulation days, either a VPA flag or a white candle or a combination of both. So this was an excellent place right here. Now here there were signals, but it didn't follow through. It was flat. The thing about buying stocks is they're random. I mean, everything really is random after you purchase a stock. There are no guarantees. That's why you have to use a strict risk control. But this looked good here, and then the following day was an inside day, and then it broke down. It started going down, and then when the 3 started turning back up towards the 6 and there was a white candle, that's much more promising, and you can see that the crossover happened 2 days later in this dark blue area. But the undercut scan would have found this stock before it made the move. And another thing you always need to consider is what the group is doing. Now this, let's just take this straight up. You can see that the group was starting to roll over at that point, which puts the odds against you for this stock moving up, and the group fell sharply. And what happened? The stock fell sharply with the group. Group movement is very important to stock movement. Let's finish up this chart. These are red lines. They're not true pocket pivots, but I use the same criteria to generate them, just to show me how much selling pressure is. And what I do is look back both 5 and 10 days and look for negative volume, which is greater than any positive volume over those time periods. And you can see that happened here. It's hard to see here, but this red bar, that's what this denotes. And the blue bar is just the opposite. It's a pocket pivot because the up volume is greater than any down volume over the past 5 or 10 days. That's how it's set up in these charts. Reason I did that is I wanted to see volume, which is either confirming, like here, or changing. And it's above the average of the past 10 days. It doesn't always work, but it gives us a good visual. Now notice as this broke higher here, the 3 histogram went above the 6 and it stayed there, started losing momentum at this point, of course, on that down bar. But this is only, 2 lower lows and then a reversal. Right here is an effort to rise. A low volume test. No demand, but this is holding above the low. The other trends down here, if you look over here, this says short-term trend, this says micro trend, the 3 and the 6, and this is intermediate term trend. This represents the 6 and the 18. If the 6 is above the 18, the histogram is going to be positive. If the 18 is above the 50, it's positive here too, and that gives us an idea of the strength of the trend. And then, of course, these are pocket pivots, volume point of control, which indicate when the bulls are in control based upon a 10-day period or when the bears are in control. It's a very sensitive indicator, and it usually works well for early entries. Now looking over here, you can see the fan is up, the trend is up. Here is a change today, intraday. Here's the range. last open, volume compared to the 90-day moving average volume. We use 90-day because that's what the VPA flags are based upon, 90-day. Estimated volume, here's the 90-day volume, so you can see volumes running well ahead of normal, which was indicated right here, the percent volume to the 90-day. That is intraday volume compared to the same time yesterday. Now these stocks are in order here on this drop-down menu. Let me bring up Jinx Solar, and you can see here's accumulation days, crossover days. Looks like it's trying to follow through today. If I click on this area up here, and then I can just use my down arrow key on my keyboard to quickly flip through these charts and look for good setups. If that is slightly blue on your screen, up here where it says General Mills, you can just run through the whole list very quickly without having to go to the warehouse to see which stocks may interest you. Okay, I'm going to leave this video right there because I don't want it to get too long, and I'll come back and cover other things about using HGSI with Guild's files. Thank you for listening.